The double over Spurs, 19 points, clearing the table of your local rivals.
Yep.
How big is the gap, mate?
Massive gap, but I'm not going to get carried away. Liverpool are flying high, but we are right there. 4 points behind, they got a game in hand, Everton away, but we are right there. And I'm telling you right now, write us off at your peril. We're going to bring a couple of players in this season, and that is it. We are going for it. Come on, you Gunners!
Listen, 19 points separates Arsenal and Tottenham in the league. Tell me, just how big is that gap now? Mate, you've just done the double over them in the Premier League.
Well, Spurs are absolutely rubbish. Yeah, what a tonic. It's a perfect tonic, isn't it, after the disappointment and the anger and the sadness at the weekend. Beating Tottenham, I've got a big smile on my face. Party atmosphere in there, of course it was going to be. But we're miles ahead of them, it's the reality. In terms of where we want to be and where they want to be, there's an absolute gap in terms of those two things. They're pushing for Europa League at best. We're pushing for the title. We're pushing to challenge the big boys, Man City, Liverpool. Obviously City have fallen off. But to be honest with you, that should have been more.
Hasn't Tottenham's day happened sooner, or is it going to happen a lot sooner than we expected this season?
There was a moment today, forget the gap, there was a moment today when I was questioning my knowledge about the team. When they scored, you're thinking, okay, they've had 4 touches in our box and they're 1-0 up. I'm not happy with that. Not happy with that, and now you're starting to think, okay, Newcastle, Man United, is this going to happen again? But we fought back, and this was a very important night. Forget about the 3 points. It means much more than that. It means that we're all together, and I think that's really important. It's important to me anyway. The reason why I support this club is about us being united, and if we hadn't have won tonight, I think we'd have broken apart for the fan base. And what I really love is a massive silent majority of Arsenal fans that are really behind this team. And we could hear them tonight. The atmosphere was electric, and I loved it.
Well, it's the difference between, obviously you mentioned United and Man United on Sunday as well. I was speaking to a lot of fans out here off the back of the penalty shootout you go out of the FA Cup. It's quite toxic. So you saying you go off path a little bit, probably get massively off piste. Do you think then that will start a chain reaction? We saw what Arsenal was like 10 years ago when everyone would refer to them as Banter FC.
Yeah.
But was this the catalyst, beating Spurs, that you're back on that right track?
I hope so, right? Look, every time we lose a game, we all go through a bit of grief, don't we? And I can't tell you how to feel. I was devastated after the United game. I just walked out of there really quickly. But I've come out of the ground tonight, and everyone else is in there still drinking. No one's coming out. So, but when against United, we couldn't wait to get out of there. So, I think it's very important that we have a level of balance. It is hard sometimes, where you can see that, particularly offensively, we lack energy. We lack confidence, we lack execution. We can all see it. It doesn't mean we need to fire everybody. Every game does not need to be a referendum on some player or the manager. It can just be a game. Do you see what I mean? And I think we have to be a little bit more, have a bit more perspective than we actually currently.
Do you think a lot of Arsenal fans just can be quite hasty off the back of one performance?
I can say it now, right? If we lost 3-2, maybe a different discussion. But that's the game, right? It's not. It's full of imperfections. If we all knew what had happened, we'd all be millionaires on the coupon, wouldn't we? We don't know what's going to happen. Spurs, literally, first shot, I couldn't believe it. I thought, this cannot be happening again. But the team fought back, right? And I think with the support of the crowd, we got something. We got our 3 points.
I know you played well. Obviously, I wasn't inside the stadium and watched it on telly, but it wasn't a case of papering over the cracks, was it? And Spurs just being so bad because they're so off compared to what they were with the likes of Harry Kane as well. Bringing in Jed Spence, who's been unbelievable, filling in for Udogie. You've got Archie Gray as a young lad as well. But is it papering over the cracks what's happening at Arsenal?
All I will say, I love watching my football. There are a couple of 18-year-olds in that pitch today. Archie Gray playing centre-back for Spurs in North London derby. He deserves a clap. We've got an 80-year-old playing left-back for Arsenal, and he was outstanding because the player he was playing against is their best player in Kulusevski, and he handled him in all parts of the game, and he's so young. That's not even his best position, and we need to realise that sometimes when talent shows itself, we're very fortunate that the values of our club allows them to play. So we know where the gaps are. Offensively, we lack a bit of pace, we lack a bit of energy, we lack a bit of one-on-one ingenuity. And that's where we are right now. But it's January. So if this was November, we couldn't do anything. We can do something now. And if you're watching that from 10,000 feet and look at that team, you're thinking, I need to help them. I need to give them something more up front. If we have that, who knows what can happen?
If you look at the amount of attacking players that we've got out in Wanyeri, Saka and Jesus, and those are options in games like this, which change games like this. I think Tottenham obviously have got some issues. They've always had some issues. I don't even think Magnum PI could sort them issues out there that deep. But listen, at the end of the day, it was a tight game in parts. The first 20 minutes we were all over them, and this is the slight inconsistency with Arsenal, which is starting to rear its head over the season. Is after that 20 minutes, and then they go and score a goal and they're 1-0 up. But what I did love seeing was the resilience of us bringing it back, getting that goal before half time, levelling it at half time, and then obviously that ball gets played through. And this is where they're unfortunate to have a standing goalkeeper. I believe Vicario saves that. Trossard, listen, it was a fantastic shot and a bounce eludes the goalkeeper, but you would like to see your goalkeeper, it went over his hand, you'd like to see your goalkeeper put that away, put that round the post. But look, we got the win.
Aston Villa at home at the weekend.
Yep.
Then you got Wolves, then you got Manchester City, who are struggling.
Yep.
If you win those three, title race back on.
Bang on, absolutely bang on. But Premier League, Villa, they cost us last season. Wolves away, never easy. Man City, they could turn it on at any time. But not going to get carried away. But I reckon Liverpool have got a couple of slips. They've got Brentford away at the weekend. We are bang in there. I'm not telling you we're going to win it, but we are right there. Write us off at your peril. Arsenal, we're right there. Come on, you Gunners!
You weren't one of those Arsenal fans at the weekend saying that you were going backwards, were you?
No, definitely not. We're not going backwards. We've had a few injuries this season. Hey, we've had a few injuries. Saka out is massive for any team. We've got a few problems, but if we can convert the chances we create, we're going to cause problems for any team. I promise you now, we are right there. I'm not telling you we're going to win it. I fancy Liverpool still, but we are right there. Hey, Jamie, where are you? Where are you, Jamie? Come on, you Gunners. Hey.
I think if we beat Aston Villa at the weekend, we're well in with the shout. We're well in with the shout, but I don't think we have the capacity to draw or lose any more games, and that's a big ask because our squad is so thin at the moment. We are, players are just dropping every minute.
Well, I know that Zubimendi's going to be coming in the summer. Yeah. Alexander Isak, you might not have seen. Scored twice against Wolves in the 3-0 win, also picked up an assist as well. Is this now you sending a message to the Kroenke saying, get your checkbook out, but you're probably not going to be able to get him in the winter, are you?
Well, Josh Kroenke was here today, so I hear. He flew over from the US. So I think they realise that there's only going to be a certain standard accepted at this football club. Fans expect the best, especially people like, me and people older than me have seen the Invincibles, seen the greats of yesteryear. We expect the pinnacle. We expect to be challenging. We've gone through our tough time of 8th, 7th. We want to be up the top. Man City have fallen off. They've had their period of domination. Why can't this be our time now? Why can't this be our time to dominate? But to do that, we really do have to show ambition in the transfer market. Yes, you're right, January, it's difficult, but I still think we need someone in January. We need somebody because there were chances in that game that should have been absolutely buried, and it would have been an absolute travesty if Spurs had gone up the other end and made it 2-2. Fortunately, they didn't. And as I said to you the other day, the game is about margins, and at the end of the day, the margins were in our favour today, and we got over the line. But to get to where we want to get, we need to be putting big money on the table. 100 mil. We're in for this guy. 150 mil.
Be a statement, wouldn't it? Be a statement to the rest of the Premier League.
Yeah, because it's a flex, isn't it? It's muscle flexing. Why can't we be on the same level as these other clubs? Now, obviously, back in the day, Arsene Wenger talked about financial fair play, and fair enough, he did a great job over many years with a small budget. But the club, to get to where it needs to get, need to be showing ambition and making signings of a certain standard. That's what we need. We need these big.
It's the calibre of like a Manchester City. It's the calibre which could become Chelsea in a couple of years. And Chelsea, some people said they were going to win the title. Some people said it could be top 4. People were saying they could be just creeping into the top 10 with all the signs that they made. Arsenal might have to copy the same sort of mantra.
Yeah, do you know what? I think that's a good point. Chelsea had a few diamonds in the rough last season, and those diamonds in the rough, like Cole Palmer, actually, he was a diamond from the start.
Cole Palmer was a diamond in the rough, my friend. Yeah. He was a pure diamond straight up.
Pure diamond Cole Palmer. But yeah, I mean, we need to do a similar thing. Get some really top players in, spend the money, give them the time they need to start to get their feet under the table in the club, and we could be soaring away. We really could, and that's the thing. I think really what a lot of the upset and the anger is from fans after Sunday against Man United is the realisation we are on the cusp. We are on the cusp of doing something big with this football club, but it's just certain things that need to be implemented for us to be able to do it, and that is the thing. That's the important thing.
Is there ever a case of, obviously you've won 2-1, you've beaten your local rivals and whatnot? Is it paper over the cracks though? Spurs just aren't good enough.
Really good question. I think Aston Villa will be a much, much tougher ask on Saturday. I think Aston Villa are miles ahead of Tottenham. I really do, and I'm not saying that because I, really have a hatred for Spurs, which I do, obviously, as an Arsenal fan. I'm saying that because I think Villa are a better team. I think they'll be a tougher test, and I think that is really going to be the acid test as to whether this was just we got over the line today. Fair enough, fans were up for it today. Shout out to the fans, brilliant today. Were we up for it today? Yes, we were. Could we have won by more? Absolutely. And Aston Villa will really be the pH for where this season is going in terms of where we...
Alexander Isak, you might not have seen it, you probably saw it flash up on your phone or whatever. 2 goals again tonight. I think it's 8 or 9 straight games. It's ridiculous. It's getting silly. Assist as well. How badly do you want the Cronkies to get that checkbook out and try and make something happen with the last 2 weeks of the window?
Firstly, about January, and I always say this to people, they say it's difficult, it's a difficult market, it's not an impossible market. And as an Arsenal fan, when I come into January, it's a bit of trepidation because we don't typically spend very, very well, but this particular window needs must, and I've mentioned before, top end of the pitch is critical. Now, the problem with Arsenal is there's been targets in terms of strikers over the years that have been available, but it's about are Arsenal willing to put the money down to pay the odds to get a striker, which you're going to have to do in today's top market. I think in terms of striker, it'll be more so coming in the summer, possibly a wide forward coming in this window. Don't ask me who, because I could chuck a million names out there, but we do need a bit of help at the top end of the pitch. We know Saka is going to be a big miss, and you can see that in recent weeks. But in terms of January, I always say to Arsenal fans, treat it with caution, but even when you have rival fans, for example, saying to you what the problems are in terms of what Arsenal should go forward, then it's an issue. But the striking option is a must, and we need to get, if it's not an out-and-out striker, which I think we'll get Sesko in the summer. I'll say to any Arsenal fan...
You were in for him last summer as well, and he extended his contract.
Yeah, I don't know what what I saw of him in the Euros, I thought is a little bit underwhelming for me, but I see the attributes as to why Mikel wanted him, because he's about 6'3". He's doing half decent season at Leipzig this season. I think we'll see him in an Arsenal shirt.
You wouldn't have seen it. You might have seen it on your phone or in the concourse. Alexander Isak, 2 goals for Newcastle tonight in the 3-0 over Wolves. Got an assist as well. I know it's probably not going to happen in the winter window, but how badly do you want the Cronkies to get the chequebook out and get him this winter?
Big time, honestly. If we could get Isak, and then they're talking about Williams on the left, if we get them 2, game over. Zubimendi's coming in the summer as well. It's game over next season. But I'm not getting carried away, like I keep saying. It's all about this season. We're not getting Isak this season. We've got to keep going as we're going. I honestly think Liverpool are favourites, but we are right there. Write us off at your peril. Jason Cundy, Jamie O'Hara, Jim Watt, all of you, Jim White.
Jim what?
Jim White, he was boxing, but
Jim what?
Jim White, all of them, Simon Jordan, write us off at your peril. The Arsenal are there, we're coming, come on you Gunners!
There was a period of about 6 years where Tottenham were finishing above us. And we are completely moving away from them. And we are, we're in a fantastic position.
Was that the start of the title race back on beating Spurs 2-1? Or is it going to be winning the next 3 games, your Aston Villa, your Wolves and your Manchester City? Then will you say the title race is back on, or is it back on in there this evening?
Harry, listen, I'll be honest with you. The way I saw it when we were 6 points behind the title race was on. Whenever you're in second place or even in your third place, potentially fourth, dependent on how many points you're behind, if you're 10, 12 points, I wouldn't say you're in a title race, but being 6 points behind or being in second place, you're in a title race. Unless the leaders in years gone by where Manchester United have been 12, 13 points clear or 50, whatever points at this stage of the season, then it's basically done when the bookies pay out on it. But the title race has been been firmly on since the beginning of the season. I've never thought that Arsenal have been out of it, but there are some issues to rectify. It's on. Can we do it? Listen, come what may. And we will see what happens, and we will see. Listen, don't forget, we've got to get Aston Villa here on Saturday. We've done a job on them 2-0 at their place. We've got to get them here, and we've got to do a job on them. Now, their form's inconsistent. They're not doing too well, and you'd like to think in a way they're ideal opponents, but Unai Emery was the one that unpicked our season at the back end of last season when they came here and they beat us. So the worrying thing that we had tonight, obviously, we had quite a few chances which didn't end up in the back of the net, which for me should have, some of them maybe could have ended up in the back of the net. And that is where clinicality is of paramount importance. And that is where we need that guy that is going to stick one of those chances.
Who is that?
Who is that? For me personally, I like the look of Gyökeres. I'm not saying that I know, his full stats and and all this, everything. I don't know enough. I'm not qualified to say we need to buy him. I do like Vlahovic. I like the Vlahovic signing when it first came.
Listen, let's keep it short. Last question from me. Was that right there, North London derby, was that title race back on? Or is it going to prove itself in the next 3 games? Aston Villa, Wolves, Manchester City. How pivotal are those 3 games? Is that where you're really going to see if you're back in the title race?
Partly. I think Arsenal in a very different position this season. In the last 2 seasons, we've been leading the pack. Now we're in a position where we're chasing the pack. Maybe that pressure might work in our favour, even with the deficiency in terms of what we're doing at the top end of the pitch. But we have to take it game by game, because the reality is it's not in our hands. And yes, win the games that are in front of you, but we're going to need Liverpool to slip up, and we're going to have to go to Anfield and win, which we haven't done for about 10, 12.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think it might have been 2011, 12 last time we did it.
Yeah, but you know what it is. If you're gonna winning a league title is not easy. You have to go and win it. Like I said, we're in a position now where we have to chase, and we can't be drawing any more games. We've drawn 7 this season. We drew 5 for the whole of last season. We've drawn way too many games, but Arsenal needs to try and recapitulate that form from the start of 2024. I think we only lost to Villa, I think it was. But it's going to be hard work, and we're in a different position to be chasing for the Premier League title.
I really liked that signing, and I thought he was a good fit. He's a striker. He's powerful. He plays on the turn, and his finishing is exceptional. We need, for me, from what I see with this Arsenal team, a player that is going to work off the shoulder. The ball's going to come through, and then they're going to finish like what Isak did to us here the other week.
Well, you've not mentioned Isak. Do you not think Isak would be the perfect person, or is it a bit of a cliche?
I think the problem you're going to have with Isak, right? Okay, so if Zubimendi comes here in the summer, then you've got Zubimendi. You could get Isak here because you've got Marino here, because you've got Odegaard here, because they all play together at Real Sociedad. It's like getting the old crew back together, but they're all grown up and they're adults now, and they're top ballers. So that's how I think that could work. But you've got to think about prizing Isak away from Newcastle. That's probably going to be a 150 million quid job. It's probably going to, I'd imagine, be 350 grand a week in wages. And it's getting him away from a Newcastle team, which I would imagine will be playing Champions League football at the end of this season. So, Yeah,
but are Newcastle going to be competing for a title, though? Let's be quite frank. Newcastle, unbelievable fan base, have the potential to be an unbelievable team. And rival teams, they are, Nottingham Forest are a big team, but Nottingham Forest shouldn't be fighting for the title. They've got their history, great, with Cloughy and winning 2 European Cups. But in today's footballing society, Newcastle should be right there, especially with the takeover as well. But are they really going to compete with the likes of Arsenal, Manchester City and Liverpool next season? Alexander Isak, surely we wanted to win the Premier League title. I always say that Heung-min Son, the worst thing that he's ever done in his career was staying at Tottenham for so long, because that bloke should win a Premier League title. But you don't want to see that of Alexander Isak, do you?
But then, look, you've got to understand, they've got players like Gordon, Byrne, Guimaraes, and everyone said this about Man City. Like, I remember personally when Man City were getting relegated, and then they were in, League One, League Two, they go, and then they were in the Championship, and then they came into the Premier League and they went back down. I remember that team. That's a team that I'm very familiar with. So when all the takeover came in, and then obviously they started winning stuff, this is new this is new sort of school. It's like, okay, Man City are a big team. For me, it looks like now maybe these golden years, it's starting to dismantle and fall apart with what's going on with Pep and Kyle Walker's going and the team's dismantling, etc. So with this takeover with Newcastle, the players they've got and the team they're building and the infrastructure they've got behind the scenes, and St James's Park, let's have it right, is a phenomenal stadium. It's an old school classic stadium and it is huge. There is no reason why they couldn't then go on and start to replicate that success, and that's what you've got to understand. Now that would be down to the manager and the board and the players. He's explaining to Alexander Isak why coming here he's got a better chance of winning things and he's got a better chance of slotting into the team and success than staying at Newcastle and them not doing what they're doing.
I just want to go back to, obviously, the player that you were mentioning was Lewis Skelly, who was absolutely unbelievable playing on that right side. Are you seeing, you as an Arsenal fan, you remember when Bukayo Saka was coming through the ranks and how much of an impact that he had? Emil Smith-Rowe, could even put Alex Iwobi and Reece Nelson into the mix as well. Are you seeing that same sort of thing with Lewis Skelly?
Well, the most interesting thing about him is when he got substituted, he wasn't a shy little boy, was he? He was giving it to the crowd, and that's what you want. You want to see players on the pitch that you can really align to, and I just liked how he played today. There are times when you give a young player a break, and you say, okay, you're doing your best. You do an hour, you do 70, and you come off. But today, this was hot. This is a high-pressure game. Our £40 million signing was not fit, and he had to play. I thought he did really well.
You spoke about pace and the energy as well. You wouldn't have seen it, but Alexander Isak, 2 goals for Newcastle tonight against Wolves, also an assist as well. They can pick him, they can find him absolutely anywhere. It's probably not going to happen this January, but is he the man that could get Arsenal over the line?
Well, he's the man that get everyone over the line, isn't he? He's the best forward in the league at the moment, on form. And so saying that we would like an Isak almost feels arrogant. Everyone would like him. What we have to do is find our player, do it our way, build our centre forward. The moment for Isak was 2 years ago. That's when it was affordable. We chose to go another route. And so now we have to do another way of supporting the players that we have. We lack a bit of power, we lack a bit of ingenuity up there. But we can do it, right? We can fix it. It's all fixable. And on all these games, while we're learning, we happen to win this game. And we're now second, was it 4 points back?
Yeah, 4 points. Liverpool have a game in hand as well.
Liverpool a game in hand. Mate, let's see how we go, shall we? Let's see how we go.
We'll see how it goes. Do you reckon that was title race back on beating Spurs 2-1? Or have you got to look at the next 3 games? Aston Villa at home, Wolves away, and then Manchester City at home.
All I know is that I think our belief has come back a little bit. While recognising we've got work to do to add some more forward quality to the group. But right now, I'll give that a pass. Because the most important thing is beating them.
Doesn't matter where you are on the table, just as long as you get 3 points over them.
Just beat them. Walked into the ground today. They're all around singing songs about Nicola Berti. I mean, who's he? And they're singing songs, and I'm thinking, okay, we need to win this game, and we've done that. And the post-mortem we can have our next couple of days about what we need to do next.
Listen, I wore all black thinking that I was going to be coming to Arsenal's title funeral today, so I think I look like a bit of an idiot.
I always wear black. It makes me look slim.
Yeah, that's exactly what I need as well. Clive.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.